If you're hearing these words right now, I want you to pause and take in the wonder of this moment, because this is not a random coincidence or a meaningless intersection in the flow of life. No, you are standing at a divine crossroads, a moment orchestrated by the very hands of God, the one who sketched the lines of the universe, breathed life into all things, and carved your name into his palm with a purpose far greater than you can imagine. You didn't stumble here by accident, and you didn't click on this video by mistake. You were led here, invited into a space where his voice echoes, carrying a message not just to be heard, but to be lived. A revelation powerful enough to melt away walls of doubt, burn away old fears, and give birth to a new version of yourself. A version destined to step into abundance beyond anything you've ever dreamed. Look back for a moment. Your journey hasn't always been easy, has it? There have been days when you felt like you were walking through a barren desert, where every step was weighed down by financial burdens, unanswered questions about tomorrow, or the suffocating feeling of being trapped in a reality with no way out. There have been nights when you lay awake, wondering if you had the strength to keep going, questioning whether the promises of a fulfilled life were really meant for you. But today I am here to tell you a truth that shakes the heavens. You were not born to live in lack, and you were not created to struggle endlessly in the shadows. You are a light, chosen by God, a child of the one who owns all the treasures of heaven and earth, and he is unfolding a new chapter in your story. A chapter where burdens are lifted, closed doors burst open, and blessings you never dared to imagine begin flowing like an unstoppable river. He declared in Jeremiah 33:3, "Call to me and I will answer you, and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know." This is not a vague invitation or a distant hope. This is a promise from the one who never breaks his word. The one who vowed to give you not just life, but life in abundance. John 10:10. That abundance is not limited by the numbers in your bank account, not dictated by the chaos of the world, and not held in the hands of anyone but God himself, the one who declared in Psalm 24:01, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it." When he is your source, no barrier is strong enough to stop you, no circumstance is great enough to delay you, and no dream is too far-fetched for him to make a reality. Your prosperity does not come from your own sweat and struggle. It comes from the open hands of the one who created you with a mighty purpose. Imagine for a moment the worries that once weighed you down, finances, health, the future, melting away like mist under the morning sun. The opportunities you thought were lost returning, the resources you need appearing as if sent from heaven, and the dreams you buried suddenly blooming before your eyes. This is not wishful thinking. This is a living promise, waiting for you to step into it. But to receive it, I invite you to take an act of faith right now, right here. Hit the like button. This is not just a click, but a declaration that you believe in God's power, that you are ready to embrace the greatness He has prepared for you. Subscribe to this channel, because every message is a guiding light drawing you closer to your divine purpose. And in the comments, I invite you to type 888, a number symbolizing infinite abundance, new beginnings, and the renewing power of God in your life. When you type 888, you are proclaiming to the universe that you are no longer bound by your past, that you are stepping into a new season of unstoppable blessings. I urge you to stay until the very end of this video, because what's coming next is not just words. It is a divine fire that will burn away every limitation in your mind, a supernatural wind that will sweep through your life, bringing transformations you never dared to believe were possible. You are here for a reason, not by chance, not by accident. This is your moment, the beginning of a life beyond anything you ever thought possible. The past has no power to hold you back, and failure no longer has a voice to define you. God is calling you to a higher level, where abundance is not just a concept but a reality you will live every day. Watch until the end, leave your mark in the comments, share this message with anyone who needs a spark of hope, and together, we will witness God's hand work miracles. Get ready. because your season of abundance is not just coming, it has already begun, right now, right here, and it will be greater than anything you've ever dreamed. Amid the narrow and often harsh limitations of this world, where daily worries, financial pressures, and uncertainty seem to lurk at every corner, your life is not being swept away in this chaotic current. Instead, it is anchored to an unshakable foundation, one that nothing can move: the unchanging faithfulness of God, the one who spoke light into existence out of darkness and created you with a divine purpose. Imagine that sacred moment, when you open your heart to His calling, not by your own strength but through simple faith. A great shift takes place in the heavens. The angels may have paused their songs to witness it. The stars may have shone brighter in reverence for the moment you stepped out of a season of struggle, a season where every day felt like a battle for survival, every night a whispered prayer through tears, and into a life guided by His supernatural hand. The steep path that once left you breathless, drenched in sweat, now stretches before you as a wide open road covered in grace, where your steps are no longer heavy but lifted, carried gently by the tender yet mighty love of God. You no longer have to fight just to keep yourself standing against the harsh winds of life. The time of clenching your fists, trying to weather every storm on your own, is over. Now you have been placed in a new position, a place where life is not just about survival, but about thriving, like a field of wild flowers blooming under the warmth of the spring sun. But take this to heart: the divine abundance that God has prepared for you is not confined to numbers in a bank account or the shimmer of material wealth. No, it is far greater than that. It is a life overflowing with purpose in every breath you take, a life where your relationships are healed and flourish, where your health is restored like a refreshing stream, where your purpose shines as clearly as a lighthouse in the night, and where your inner peace is as deep and steady as the ocean after the storm. True wealth is not found in hoarding gold or chasing after fleeting luxuries. It is found in walking in the fullness of the life that God dreamed for you long before you took your first breath. It is the feeling of waking up each morning with a heart unburdened by worry, knowing that you are completely cared for by the one who never sleeps. It is the pure joy of realizing that the path you walk has been blessed, that your provision has already been set in place, and that your future is not an anxious question mark, but a masterpiece painted with the colors of prosperity and hope. And the most amazing part, this transformation does not come from your own strength, nor is it earned through sharp intelligence or exhausting late-night work. It is not a reward for what you have done, but a gift flowing from the very nature of God, who is love, who is power, who is unwavering faithfulness. He chose you not because you are perfect, or because you meet the world's standards of worthiness, but because His will for you is perfect, beyond any mistake or limitation you might see in yourself. The days of fighting to prove your value, of striving to convince the world that you are good enough, are over. What lies ahead of you is a vast horizon of abundance. Not a small, limited version of abundance that you once imagined in your humble dreams, but a fullness that surpasses anything you dared to think of in your darkest days. And with that abundance comes an unshakable trust. Not an arrogant confidence in your own abilities, but a deep, steadfast faith in the unbreakable commitment of God to you, the one who has promised and will fulfill, the one who has called you and will lift you up. You see, true faith is not built on self-reliance or on the achievements you accumulate through your own efforts. It grows from the absolute certainty that you are held and carried by a power greater than the limits of this world. Jesus Himself looked at the crowds and said in Matthew 6:26, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?" Let those words settle in your heart for a moment. If God takes such care of even the smallest of birds, from the tiny sparrow hopping on a branch to the mighty eagle soaring above the mountains, paying attention to every feather, every meal, then how much more will He care for you, His beloved child, created in His image? He does not just see you in the crowd. He knows your name. He has counted every tear you've shed, and He has prepared a path where you will not just survive, but truly live, a life of brilliance, fullness, and blessings pouring out from His open hands. Picture a small child, eyes bright with innocence, a carefree smile as they go about their day, completely unbothered by worries about their next meal or where they will rest at night. That child is not weighed down by the questions that so often plague adults. It simply trusts, with a pure and unshaken belief, that their parents will provide, that their loving hands will always be there to shelter and supply every need. This is the image God paints when He invites you to embrace a similar kind of trust. A trust not clouded by anxiety, not bound by fear, but overflowing with a deep peace, like a gentle river flowing through a lush valley. He does not ask you to control every detail of your life, nor does He demand that you bear the weight of securing every outcome. Instead, He whispers, "Let go and trust me." Trust that His plans are not just good but are unfolding at every moment for your ultimate good, a plan not built on human weakness, but on the unchanging power of the Creator Himself. From this very moment you are set free, free from the relentless toil of proving yourself, free from the long nights haunted by financial worries, free from the burden of carrying everything on your own shoulders. Because from now on, wealth, provision, and abundance are no longer your responsibility. They are the joy and privilege of God, as He takes care of His children. Your only task is to place your life in the flow of His will, trust in His perfect timing, and remain faithful as He begins to move on your behalf. C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity once wrote, "Faith in God is not about trying to believe something unbelievable, but about resting in the truth that He is more trustworthy than anything we could grasp on our own." His words shine like a guiding light on the path of faith that God is calling you to walk today. Not a tense struggle to force miracles to happen by your own strength, but a deep, trusting rest in the arms of the One who never fails. The more you let go of control, the more you release your grip on everything with your trembling hands, the more you open up a vast space where God's miracles can flow freely into your life like an unending river. Think about it. The moment you stop striving to make everything happen, the moment you stop chasing after temporary solutions, and instead rest in the certainty that everything has already been arranged by God, what will happen? Blessings will no longer be something you have to run after. They will chase after you, like mighty winds lifting a kite higher into the sky. Doors that were once shut, covered in the dust of disappointment, will burst open before your eyes with supernatural force. Opportunities that once seemed distant and impossible will suddenly appear, like stars breaking through the darkest night. And when you look back, you will be astonished to realize that the things you once struggled and shed tears to achieve have now been placed gently into your hands, like a gift from a Father overflowing with mercy. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not some vague time in the future, but right now, to step into the divine provision that God prepared for you long before you ever spoke your first prayer. Imagine the heavens shaking, the angels rejoicing as you lift your head and let your voice echo, "I am ready, Lord." Let this divine transformation begin. Let your supernatural season of abundance break forth like the dawn scattering the night. But don't think this is a passive waiting, where you sit back and let things just come to you. No, this is a divine partnership with God, a living journey of faith, where every step of obedience is a hammer breaking down the walls that once held you back, where every prayer is a seed sown into the fertile ground of His promises. With every step forward, you will see doors of abundance open, not in the small way the world imagines, but beyond every limit of your understanding, like a vast ocean replacing the shallow puddle you once settled for. Let your heart stir with this fresh hope. You don't have to live another day weighed down by worries about bills, fears of tomorrow, or doubts about your worth. As Jesus said, "Look at the birds of the air. They fly free, unburdened by anxiety." And you, His beloved child, are invited into that same freedom. Let go of the burdens, Rise from the ashes of past seasons and step onto the path that He has paved with grace. This is not just a promise. This is your new reality, where abundance is no longer something you only dream of, but something you live every single day. Let this journey begin today with the simple faith of a child and the bold expectation of a warrior. Because God is ready to do something miraculous in your life, this is not an ordinary faith, small or easily shaken by the winds of doubt. No, this is the kind of faith that moves mountains, that shakes the massive stones that once blocked your way. This is the kind of bold trust that allows you to walk on water, where the very waves that once made you fearful now become solid ground beneath your feet. This is the kind of powerful surrender where you release your grip on worry and step into supernatural provision, right at the moment you need it most, like a brilliant light piercing through the darkest night. Pause and reflect for a moment on the one in whom you place your trust. God is not just a mere provider who meets small needs. He is the great architect of the universe, the one who spoke a single word and galaxies ignited into existence. He is the one who skillfully hung each star in the sky like precious jewels and commands the sun to rise and set with perfect precision. If He can breathe life into the vast oceans, carve towering mountains with His mighty hand, and sustain all of creation, from the tiniest bird to the greatest beast, with just a whisper, do you think there is anything too great, too difficult, or too far out of reach for Him to provide for you? The wealth you seek, the resources you need to fuel your dreams, and the opportunities to fulfill your divine purpose, all are within His grasp, as effortlessly as grains of sand resting in the palm of the one who made the world. But look around you. So many people live their lives like caged birds, their wings weighed down by anxiety, their eyes clouded by relentless stress. They run an endless race to make things happen on their own, worrying about money as if it were a cruel master, chasing success as if it were an elusive shadow, and exhausting themselves in pursuit of provision that they fail to realize has already been set aside for them by God long ago. They live as though everything depends on their own strength, as though the future is a puzzle they must solve with trembling hands and a weary mind. But when you open your heart to grasp this liberating truth, that wealth, abundance, and prosperity are not your burden to carry, but God's responsibility, something miraculous happens. The chains of pressure snap off your heart. The weight on your shoulders lifts like mist disappearing in the morning sun, and the fear of lack, the voice that once whispered lies into your ear, is silenced by the overwhelming light of His grace. You are free, free to breathe deeply, free to lift your head high, free to live not as a beggar pleading for scraps, but as an heir of the one who owns all the treasures of heaven and earth. Look at the living stories in the Bible that prove the power of this kind of faith. Think of Elijah standing by a dried-up brook in the midst of a brutal famine. 1 Kings 17, 4-6. No food, no water, no sign of survival. But he did not panic, he did not run to save himself. He trusted, and God sent ravens, unexpected messengers from heaven to bring him bread and meat every day, a reminder that God can provide even in the most barren wilderness. Remember the widow of Zarephath, 1 Kings 17:14-16. A woman at the brink of starvation with only a handful of flour and a little oil left. But when she obeyed the prophet of God, when she took a step of faith despite having nothing left to give, a miracle unfolded. Her jar of flour never ran out, her jug of oil never dried up, and life overflowed where once there had only been the shadow of despair. And then think of Peter, the exhausted fisherman who had caught nothing all night, Luke 5:4-6. When Jesus told him to cast his net into the deep once more, Peter could have laughed, could have scoffed at the impossibility, but instead, he believed, he obeyed. And the result? A catch so massive that his nets nearly broke, his boat nearly sank under the weight of overwhelming blessing. These are not just ancient stories. They are living testimonies that when you put your trust in God, He does not just meet your needs, He overflows them beyond what you can contain. This kind of faith is not just a concept to contemplate, it is an invitation to live. It calls you to stand firm in the storm and trust that He will make a way through the sea. It calls you to surrender your worries in exchange for timely, abundant provision that goes far beyond what you could ever achieve on your own. Because He is not just a provider, He is the one who designed you in His mind before time began, the one who knows every hair on your head, the one who has prepared a divine purpose for you that no limitation of this world can ever destroy. When you live in this faith, you don't just receive material wealth. You receive the freedom to dream big, the strength to walk boldly in your purpose, and the joy of knowing that no challenge, no failure, no fear is too great for Him to overcome for you. This is the God you serve, not a small God who hands out mere scraps for survival, but the great provider, the giver of abundance, who blesses with an open hand and a heart overflowing with love beyond all limits you could ever imagine. When He takes responsibility for your prosperity, get ready for the unexpected, the extraordinary. Don't just hope for a few drops to quench your temporary thirst. Expect a mighty river, one that not only satisfies all your needs but flows so powerfully that you become a source of blessing to those around you. Imagine a life where abundance is not just a vague concept, but a living reality, where you give freely without fear of lack, live boldly with unshakable faith, and walk confidently in your divine calling like a fire that cannot be extinguished. But the key to unlocking this door is in your hands. You must sweep every trace of doubt from your mind. Doubt is not a harmless guest, it is a thief, the enemy's sharpest weapon, poised to steal your blessings before you can even grasp them. The Bible warns in James 1:6-8 that a double-minded person, one who wavers between belief and doubt, will be unstable in all their ways. But hear this clearly: your God is not a man that He should lie or change His mind. His promises are not fragile papers that can be torn by the wind, nor are they empty words dependent on shifting circumstances. They are eternal rocks, unshakable, carved by the hand of the Almighty, and sealed by His unwavering faithfulness. Numbers 23:19 declares with earth-shaking power, God is not a man that He should lie, nor a son of man that He should change His mind. Does He speak and then not act? Does He promise and not fulfill? If He has spoken prosperity over your life, if He has already written a future of abundance for you in His book of destiny, then you can stand firm with unshakable confidence that He will make a way, not by human means, but by the supernatural power of the One who created the heavens and the earth. Let your heart resonate with this truth. Your biggest dreams, the desires that burn within you and seem too far-fetched, are never too big for God. The goals you carry, the hopes you hold in the quiet places of your heart, are never out of His reach. What seems impossible in the natural world, where cold logic and material limitations rule, has already been completed in the spiritual realm, where God's power transcends all human understanding. He is never bound by what your eyes see or what your hands can touch, and He certainly won't start being limited now. Think of Him as the God of the impossible. The Red Sea did not part because of science or strategy. It split wide open as a path through the ocean because God spoke a single command. Exodus 14:21. The mighty walls of Jericho did not fall because of military strength or human planning. They crumbled into dust at the sound of faithful obedience. Joshua 6:20. And your provision, whether financial, physical, or an open door of opportunity, will not come merely from your sweat and toil. It will come like rain from heaven, pouring down from the hands of God when you step into His divine plan, when you place your trust in the One who never fails. What the world calls impossible is merely stepping stones beneath His feet, and He is inviting you to walk upon them, to step into the destiny He has prepared for you. Now is the time to rise up, to break free from the invisible chains of hesitation that have held you back, from the fears that whispered you weren't enough, from the seeds of doubt that silently took root in your mind. Imagine standing atop a great hill, looking down into the valley of your past, the days of lack, the nights of worry, the times you wondered if you would ever break free, and now, lift your eyes. Ahead of you is a radiant horizon, where the prosperity God has prepared is no longer just a distant promise, but a reality rushing toward you with every beat of your heart. Your breakthrough is no longer a dream floating somewhere in the future. It is in motion, like a mighty wave pulling you into the arms of blessing. Your abundance is no longer hidden in the shadows. It is on its way, like the brilliant sunrise piercing through the night, carrying with it opportunities you never dared to imagine, resources you never thought you deserved, and a life overflowing with the fullness you were created to live. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not when everything is perfect, but right now. Step into it with open hands, with a heart full of trust, and with eyes fixed on the one who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. His provision is not just enough, it is overflowing, exceeding every expectation you have ever held, because this is the God you serve, the God of abundance, the God of the impossible, the God who loves you more than life itself. There is a deceptive lie that has crept into the minds of many, trapping them in the cruel cycle of lack. The belief that financial success is a privilege reserved for a select few, that abundance is a bright light meant only for the lucky, while the rest are destined to struggle endlessly just to survive. Maybe you have heard these poisonous whispers from the world, from family, from society, or even from the doubts within your own heart, that wealth is not for people like you, that you must accept a life of limitations, that great prosperity is an extravagant dream you were never meant to reach. But today I come to destroy that lie with the fire of truth, the truth from God Himself, the one who created you not to be forgotten in the shadows, not to be left behind in despair, and certainly not to live in perpetual lack. You are a priceless gem in His eyes, chosen before time began, set apart for a purpose far greater than anything your eyes have seen or your heart has imagined. Your life was never meant to be a weary march through endless struggles, where every step is a sigh of exhaustion. No, it was designed to be a glorious symphony, a living testimony to the unshakable faithfulness of God and the overflowing abundance He has prepared for you since the beginning of time. The resources you once prayed for in lonely nights, the opportunities you sought through foggy days, the prosperity you only dared to dream of in quiet moments. They are not merely gifts to fill your pockets or satisfy personal desires. They are divine tools, entrusted to you by God, to equip you for the great purpose He has carved into your soul. Maybe that purpose is lifting up the broken, supporting missions that bring light into darkness, building a legacy of faith for the next generation, or creating something that changes the world. Whatever it is, trust that God will not leave you lacking. He is the one who sees every dream you carry in your heart, hears every whispered prayer, and He is committed to ensuring that you have every financial resource, every open door needed to bring those dreams to life. The moment you tear down the veil of doubt in your mind, the moment you reject the lie that wealth is beyond your reach, you are not just opening a door, you are shattering it, allowing the miracles waiting on the other side to flood into your life. Because here's the truth the enemy fears you discovering. God does not hoard abundance away from His children as if it were a locked treasure. He is not the God of lack. He is not the God of just barely enough to get you through the day. He is the God of overflow, the one who fills empty vessels with the finest wine, the one who multiplies a few loaves into a feast for thousands. Psalm 35:27 resounds like a victory song. Let the Lord be magnified, who delights in the prosperity of His servant. Do you hear the power in those words? God does not bless reluctantly. He delights in your prosperity. He does not sit on His throne with clenched fists. His arms are wide open, pouring out blessings beyond anything you have ever asked for or imagined. He takes joy in meeting your needs, in opening bright pathways for your future, in turning your seasons of lack into seasons of overflowing provision. This is not about greed or self-indulgence. This is an invitation to step into the fullness of His plan, a plan that includes not just financial freedom, but liberation from the chains of debt, anxiety, and limitation. C.S. Lewis, in The Weight of Glory, once wrote, "We are far too easily pleased when God has prepared for us far greater things beyond our wildest imagination." His words ring like a wake-up call. You were not created to live small, to accept the limitations the world has placed on you. God has prepared a life of abundance, not just so you can survive, but so you can thrive, so you can live as a testimony of His love and power. Imagine this moment. You stand in the desert of lack, hot sand beneath your feet, an empty sky above you. But then, from the distant horizon, a rain of blessings begins to fall. Not a few scattered drops, but a mighty downpour, filling the dry streams of your life, transforming barren land into flourishing fields. This is what happens when you reject the lies of scarcity and embrace the truth of God. You are not forgotten. You are not destined to struggle forever. He has chosen you not because you are perfect, not because you have earned it, but because He sees you as part of His greater plan. The prosperity He has for you is not just about money. It is the strength to fulfill your calling, the freedom to live unshackled from debt, the joy of knowing that you are cared for by the One who never breaks a promise. Now is the time to lift your head, cast away doubt, and step into the season of abundance He has prepared. A season where your dreams are no longer distant stars, but burning flames in your hands. Too many people walk through life with heavy steps, eyes clouded by the ghosts of fear. Fear that they will always struggle, that every passing day is a step further from their dreams, that the breakthrough they long for will always be an unreachable horizon. They live like birds trapped in cages, their wings bound by anxiety. Will I have enough? Will tomorrow be brighter than today? But today I declare a truth that will shatter those chains. When you truly understand that God is your provider, not a reluctant giver, but the one who loves you with an eternal love, fear loses its power. Imagine this moment. You stand in the storm of uncertainty, but instead of trembling, you feel a deep peace, unshakable like a mountain standing firm in the raging winds. That is the power of knowing that God will provide, a certainty that is not shaken by economic downturns, not disrupted by financial struggles, and not stolen by any earthly circumstance. When you grasp this truth, your entire life shifts. You no longer shrink into the shadows of despair, making decisions out of fear of scarcity. You no longer live in survival mode, where every day is a fight to keep your head above water. Instead, you walk with bold confidence, like a warrior who knows the victory is already secured. Because God's provision is not a distant hope, it is right before you, only one step of faith away. This is not blind faith, not a game of chance where you toss your hope into the unknown. No, this is a deeply rooted faith, nourished by living experiences and undeniable realities that God has always been there, providing for you in the seasons that seemed impossible to escape. Stop and look back over your life, the unexpected breakthroughs when every door of hope seemed shut, the blessings that came like rain in a desert, the moments you didn't know how you would make it through, but somehow you did. That was not chance, not random luck. It was the hand of divine provision, the mark of a God who never leaves you behind. C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity once wrote, "Faith is the art of holding on to things your reason has once accepted, despite your changing emotions." His words shine like a guiding light. Your faith does not need to waver with every emotional storm or circumstantial shift. It is anchored in the unchanging truth that God has provided before and He will provide again. The more you reflect on the times He made a way through the darkest alleys, the more those memories become the solid foundation of your life. The more you see fear of the unknown dissolve like mist in the morning sun. You do not need to worry about tomorrow, because the Creator of heaven and earth has gone before you. He has painted your path with strokes of grace, placed blessings along your way, and ensured that His provision will never run dry. But understand this: when you step into the divine prosperity God has prepared for you, when your life begins to reflect the radiant light of His grace, not everyone will celebrate with you. There will be skeptics who watch from a distance, frowning and shaking their heads at your blessings. There will be doubters who whisper that you don't deserve the abundance you walk in. There may even be those who mock and scoff at the success you step into. But let me tell you clearly, their opinions are not your concern. Their words have no authority over what God has spoken over your life. Your abundance is not a topic for debate or a gift that requires human approval. Remember the story of Joseph in Genesis, a young man despised by his own brothers, thrown into a pit with mocking voices echoing around him. They thought they had buried his dreams, crushed his future beneath the cold earth. But they didn't know that God's hand was upon him. What they saw as the end was actually the beginning of his divine destiny. Years later, when famine swept the land, those same brothers who had scorned him now knelt before him, seeking help from the very storehouses he had been placed in charge of. When God blesses you, no scoffing, no jealousy, no opposition can take it away, because his blessings are guarded by a power unmatched. This is your new reality. A reality where the grace upon your life is untouchable, where provision flows toward you like an unstoppable river. God is not just meeting your needs, he is elevating you, lifting you from the ashes of past seasons, setting you apart for a life of divine prosperity and supernatural abundance. Let go of the invisible chains of doubt that once bound you. Cast away the fears that once held your mind captive, and step boldly into this new season with open hands, with lifted eyes, with an unshakable heart. What God has promised is not a distant dream. It is unfolding before you, like a brilliant sunrise after a long night. Nothing can stop the blessings that are coming your way. Do you hear the echo of this promise? God's blessings are not distant stars that you must struggle to climb toward. They are mighty winds from heaven, chasing after you with an unstoppable force, binding you in your faithful steps and moments of obedience. Imagine a life where the wealth of heaven flows into your hands like a refreshing river, without you having to strain and sweat to grasp it. This is ultimate freedom. A life no longer imprisoned by the fear of lack, no longer haunted by the question, where is my next breakthrough coming from? It is when you walk with radiant confidence, like a flame burning bright in the night, knowing that every heartbeat of your life aligns with God's divine plan. A plan not just for you, but also a guiding light for generations to come, for those who will look at your story and find hope. This prosperity does not stop with what you see today. It is a river that never ceases to flow, carrying blessings beyond time, beyond space, leaving an eternal imprint in his kingdom. The wealth that God is placing in your hands is not a gift to be clutched in selfish grasping merely for temporary comfort. No. It is a powerful tool, a divine resource entrusted to you from the treasures of the kingdom, so that you may fulfill the great calling he has written deep into your soul. With abundance comes great responsibility, but do not see it as a burden placed upon your shoulders. See it as a high honor, a privilege to stand in a position where you can transform lives, lift up those who have fallen, turn barren lands into thriving fields, and leave behind a radiant legacy that continues to shine long after your footsteps have left this earth. The financial prosperity that God gives is not just for you to live comfortably. It is a fire to expand his kingdom, hands to feed the hungry, resources to fund missions that carry his love to the darkest corners of the world. Think of Solomon in 1 Kings 6:1-38. A man blessed by God with extraordinary wisdom, immense influence, and wealth beyond measure. But Solomon did not hoard these treasures for himself to build lavish palaces for his own pride. He used them to construct the temple of the Lord, a magnificent house of worship that stood as a testimony of his greatness for generations. Your prosperity is the same. It carries purpose, power, and the potential to change the world around you. This is the divine secret the enemy does not want you to discover. The more you give, the more you receive, not as a logical equation of the world, but as a supernatural principle of abundance. Imagine standing in a vast field, scattering seeds of generosity. Each seed you plant is an act of blessing, a gift given for the kingdom of God. And then, as if by miracle, the field bursts into bloom. not just with single flowers, but with an entire harvest of abundance, filling your hands with blessings greater than what you ever planted. Luke 6:38 declares with unshakable certainty, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." This is God's divine economy, where generosity does not deplete, but multiplies, where the love you pour out returns as an overflowing river of provision. True prosperity is not about accumulating treasures to boast. It is about using your resources as a bridge to carry love to broken hearts, to heal deep wounds, and to transform barren places into thriving lands. It is about building a lasting impact, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you, so that when you look back you see not just a life changed, but an entire world touched by grace through your hands. C.S. Lewis in The Weight of Glory once wrote, "We are far too easily pleased when God is calling us to a glory beyond what the eyes have seen or the ears have heard." His words ring as a wake-up call. You were not created to live small, to chase after the crumbs of the world while God has prepared a table of abundance for you. When you fully step into this divine calling, when you stretch out your hands to receive the prosperity He has destined for you, I urge you, sweep away every shadow of doubt, drive out every fear that once imprisoned you, and let go of every hesitation that held you back. Step boldly into this new season, a season of abundance, expansion, and supernatural provision, with a heart ablaze and eyes lifted high. If this message has ignited a fire within you, if you are ready for your life to reflect God's overflow, I invite you to declare it now by typing "I step in" the comments, not just as words, but as an act of faith, a prophetic declaration that you are stepping into the greatest season of your life. This is your moment. Rise up, take hold, and step into the prosperity that has always been waiting for you. Every blessing that flows is not a random gift. It is a mirror of the unchanging nature of God, a testimony of His unwavering commitment to see you not just survive, but truly flourish in His kingdom.